Stop the toxic critic. 3 Zen tools to master self-love and end self-doubt. Stop the voice. Your inner critic is a ghost of past pain fueling self-doubt. Learn the 3 Zen tools of Mettā to master self-love. Watch now. Part 1. The Saboteur in your mind. Welcome to Echoes of Life. Take a quiet inventory of your internal landscape. Among all the voices, opinions, and fears that crowd your mind, there is one relentless, unforgiving voice that attacks you more brutally and consistently than any enemy you have ever faced: the toxic inner critic. This voice is the master saboteur. It whispers, "You are a fraud. You are not smart enough. You failed, and you will fail again." This constant, negative commentary is the hidden enemy that fuels self-doubt, paralyzes action, and ultimately sabotages every genuine attempt you make at self-improvement and long-term fulfillment. The irony of the critic is that it uses your own deepest desires against you. You want to succeed. The critic tells you your effort is pointless. You seek connection. The critic reminds you of every past social failure. We spend our lives trying to prove this voice wrong with external achievements: a new job, a new relationship, a new milestone. But the moment we achieve success, the critic merely raises the standard, demanding perfection and leaving us perpetually exhausted and fundamentally unacceptable to ourselves. This vicious cycle, achieve, fail, criticize, retreat, is the root of much of our modern anxiety and chronic lack of true worth. The problem, therefore, is not a lack of external success, but a profound lack of internal defense. The ancient Buddhist principle of Mettā, or loving kindness, offers the radical solution. Mettā is not merely a warm, fuzzy feeling we occasionally generate. It is a Zen tool, a disciplined, active practice of cultivating unconditional acceptance and compassion toward yourself. It is the ultimate psychological defense skill against self-sabotage, designed to create an internal atmosphere so accepting that the voice of criticism cannot survive. To master self-love is not to achieve a feeling, but to acquire this skill. This mastery is necessary because the cost of listening to the toxic critic is far greater than mere low self-esteem. It is the cost of a life half-lived, defined by self-imposed limitations and the regret of unattempted actions. It is the ultimate form of self-betrayal. Today, we offer the definitive blueprint for this mastery. We will give you 3 powerful Zen tools to expose the critic as an illusion, neutralize its negative energy, and replace its tyranny with the stable, unshakable foundation of self-love. This is the journey to reclaiming your inner sovereignty and building a self-worth that is entirely non-negotiable. Part 2. Anatta. The critic is a ghost. To truly dismantle the toxic critic, we must perform a radical psychological autopsy and recognize its true nature. The critic is a ghost. It is not you. This powerful realization is rooted in the Zen principle of Anatta, or vo na, not self. The ego, the part of the mind that clings desperately to fixed concepts of me, mine, and I, wants you to believe the critic's voice is the factual, central voice of your identity. It conflates the judgment with your inherent, core self. But the truth is much simpler and far more liberating. The toxic critic is merely a compilation, an old, malfunctioning software program running on outdated code. The voice you hear is not generating present truth, it is replaying past pain. It is an echo chamber of old, harsh messages, the demanding tone of an overly critical parent, The cutting critique of a dismissive teacher, the harsh standards of a demanding society, or the internalized fear of social judgment. These voices were absorbed during childhood when your mind lacked the capacity to filter them. Your ego, in a clumsy, desperate attempt to protect you from external vulnerability, internalized these voices, mistakenly believing that if you punish yourself first, the world can't hurt you later. The critic is a flawed, misguided protector. The paradox is that this protector has become your single greatest source of internal harm and stagnation. The power of anatta is that it allows you to step back and look at the voice as an external, separate entity. You are not the fear. You are the awareness that observes the fear. You are not the judgment. You are the listener of the judgment. The central mistake we make is engaging the critic in a logical argument. You cannot fight a ghost with logic or argument. For engaging the critic in debate only validates its existence and grants it legitimacy. The only way to win this internal war is to withdraw your belief in its authority and its reality. Once you identify the voice as a separate, repetitive recording, a piece of mental noise that is fundamentally not the you at your core, its power to define your worth instantly dissolves. You realize the energy of the judgment is fleeting, and the consciousness observing it is eternal. You are the space in which the critique arises, not the critique itself. Part 3. Zen Tool 1. The Observer Role and the Label. Once you have psychologically disarmed the critic by realizing its ghostly nature, the next challenge is maintaining that critical distance in the heat of the moment. The critic's primary goal is to pull you out of the serenity of the observer role and into the emotional chaos of the content of the thought. I am a failure, or I am a loser. Your psychological safety depends entirely on your ability to disconnect from the content and focus on the neutral process, the simple fact that a thought has occurred. Zen Tool 1 is the 3-second pause in the labeling technique, the immediate, intentional creation of psychological distance at the very moment the critic attacks. The interruption. The second you hear the familiar hostile tone, the moment the wave of self-doubt starts to rise, you must engage the 3-second pause. Stop all physical action. Use your breath, your constant anchor, to create a momentary, complete stillness. This tiny, intentional pause breaks the automatic, unconscious momentum of the reaction, giving your conscious mind the space to intervene. The labeling protocol. Immediately couple this pause with a conscious, internal labeling of the emotion or thought. Do not label the asterisk content, I failed the task. Label the asterisk function, this is judgment. Say silently, there is the critic speaking, or there is the old voice running its program. You can even use humor and detachment, saying, hello, my old friend, I hear you. The act of separation. The moment you label the thought, you achieve fundamental separation. You move from the confused statement, I am unworthy, to the clear, factual observation, I am noticing the thought that I am unworthy. This is a crucial shift in perception that reclaims your inner sovereignty. The observer role teaches you that thoughts are merely mental events, like clouds passing across the sky. You are the vast, unmoving sky. You don't have to become the cloud. By maintaining this non-judgmental distance, you strip the toxic critic of the necessary emotional fuel it needs to hijack your mood and self-perception, establishing stillness where chaos once reigned. Part 4. Zen Tool 2. The Mettā Shield, compassion counterattack. Once you have secured the separation using the observer role, the energy of the attack is neutralized. However, nature abhors a vacuum. We cannot simply leave that space empty. We must replace the negative energy with a powerful, regenerative force. Zen Tool 2 is the Mettā shield. This is the active, disciplined practice of using loving kindness, Mettā, as the ultimate psychological counterattack against self-judgment. The toxic critic feeds exclusively on one thing: self-punishment and shame. Mettā is the commitment to unconditional self-love, a conscious, deliberate force so pure and accepting that it makes the critic's lies irrelevant. You are actively choosing to support yourself over condemning yourself. The Mettā inversion technique. Acknowledge the pain. When the critic delivers its blow, e.g., you ruined that opportunity, or you are too slow, acknowledge the wound and the pain without validating the judgment. Say, "Yes, that event was painful, and I am disappointed." The inversion. Immediately and consciously pivot the energy from critique to compassion. Instead of allowing the self-punishment to flow, direct Mettā toward yourself with simple, healing phrases rooted in the traditional Mettā practice. May I be safe from harm. May I be free from inner suffering. May I be accepted exactly as I am. The unconditional statement. The most powerful element is the radical commitment to acceptance. You consciously state, "I forgive myself for my imperfection. I am already worthy." Regardless of this outcome, you refuse to make your self-worth conditional upon the unrealistic perfection the critic demands. This is not a denial of fault. It is a commitment to unconditional self-support through imperfection. The Mettā shield works because it starves the critic of its necessary emotional nourishment. You replace the shame with forgiveness, the fear with acceptance, and the judgment with compassion. By consistently directing Mettā inward, you build an internal atmosphere so warm, so accepting, that the cold, harsh lies of the critic cannot survive. This disciplined self-compassion is the true source of lasting emotional resilience. Part 5. Zen Tool 3. The Radical Reframe, Compassionate Support. We have secured separation and replaced judgment with Mettā. Now, we must address the root psychological function of the critic itself. Your inner critic operates under a profound delusion. It genuinely believes it is helping you. It screams harsh critiques because it equates impossible perfection with ultimate safety, pushing you towards unrealistic standards in the mistaken hope that if you are flawless, you will be immune from external harm or judgment. This aggression, therefore, is simply fear dressed up as discipline. To achieve lasting peace, we must transform the critic's underlying function from a destructive saboteur to a genuine, constructive supporter. Zen Tool 3 is the radical reframe. The intentional act of viewing the harsh critique not as a truth, but as the terrified voice of an inner child that is pleading for comfort, not demanding condemnation. This technique requires you to consciously pivot your response, reframing the criticism as a desperate plea for help. The inner child dialogue. First, identify the core fear. When the critic attacks, saying, "You are lazy, you will fail," stop and ask, what is this voice truly afraid of? The answer is consistently fear of inadequacy, the pain of past abandonment, or the shame of future failure. Second, shift your role. Imagine the critic's demanding tone is coming from a small, scared, exhausted child sitting across from you. Do not argue with the child's panicked words. Address the child's underlying emotional need. Third, respond with compassion. Respond not with defense or counterattack, but with radical kindness and unwavering assurance. Instead of screaming internally, "I am not lazy," respond gently with, "I hear that you are terrified of failure. And that is understandable, but we are here now. And we are safe. We will try for 5 minutes. And that is enough. I support you, no matter the outcome." This reframing is profoundly powerful because it is the exact opposite of what the critic expects. By consistently responding to the critic's aggression with compassionate support, you disarm its negative energy. You deny it the validation of the internal conflict. And you give it the unconditional acceptance it was secretly craving. You transform the voice from a destructive, internal enemy into a supported, integrated part of your whole self. This intentional cultivation of support is the final, essential step in mastering self-love. Part 6. The Silence Advantage, Uncorking Striving Energy. The most significant, often overlooked benefit of neutralizing the toxic critic is the immense energy release, the silence advantage. When you are perpetually at war with yourself, a vast amount of psychic energy is consumed daily in internal conflict, defense, and the constant striving to prove your initial worth. This energy is a hidden, massive tax on your spiritual and emotional life, fueling chronic burnout and deep fatigue. The moment you silence the saboteur and replace its judgment with Mettā, you instantly uncork this trapped energy. The energy you were previously using to defend your ego and maintain its conditional worth is now fully available for intentional action, genuine creativity, and meaningful presence. The inner striving loop. The ego trap forces you into a mode of conditional living. I must achieve X to be worthy of Y. This is a constant, exhausting upward climb against self-doubt, fueled by the critic's whip. When you achieve the silence advantage, you move from conditional striving to unconditional being. You act not from the frantic need to prove your worth, but from a quiet, centered desire to create, contribute, or connect. Your effort becomes effortless, embodying the principle of Wu Wei. This energy release creates quiet confidence, a self-worth that does not need to announce itself or prove its existence through external metrics. It is not loud, aggressive, or fragile. It is the deep, unshakable certainty that you are acting from your core integrity, and therefore, external success or failure cannot fundamentally alter your worth. The silence advantage is your spiritual inheritance. It is the peace and power that comes from truly resting in the knowledge that you are whole, complete, and fully worthy. Right here, right now, you are finally free from the exhausting, relentless need to justify your own existence. Part 7. Reclaiming True Worth. We have neutralized the external forces of judgment. Now we solidify the internal truth of true worth. The final, profound Zen realization is that your inherent value is not a prize to be won. It is a default state to be consciously reclaimed. Your true worth is not a resume. It is not a bank account balance. It is not the approval of your peers. It is the unconditioned awareness that observes all of these things. It is the raw, pure consciousness that has been with you since birth, remaining fundamentally untouched by success, failure, praise, or criticism. The stillness test. Reclaiming default worth. Engage in a simple, intentional stillness practice. Sit for 5 minutes, focusing only on your breath. This is the moment of radical honesty. During this time, actively and mentally strip away all your external labels, your job title, your relationship status, your possessions, and your most recent accomplishments. Let them mentally float away. Embracing the temporary void, what remains when all the labels are gone? A simple, undeniable, persistent awareness. That unconditioned awareness is your true worth. It cannot be judged, it cannot be diminished, and it cannot be lost. By consistently returning to this core stillness, you inoculate yourself against the toxic critic's core lie. You realize I am already enough. This realization is not a feel-good platitude. It is a factual statement about the unconditioned nature of consciousness. You are whole right now. The critic's voice is based on the conditionality of the external world. Your true worth is based on the unconditional nature of your internal presence. This reclamation of your default worth is the greatest act of liberation you will ever perform. Part 8 Final Echoes. Choose your voice. We have completed our journey through the essential tools necessary to silence the internal saboteur. You now understand that the toxic critic is a ghost of the past, and self-love is a disciplined skill to be practiced daily. You possess the 3 Zen tools to master your internal landscape. 1. The observer role in the label, creating distance and choosing consciousness over automatic reaction. 2. The Mettā shield, actively replacing self-punishment with unconditional compassion. 3. The radical reframe, transforming the critic from an enemy into a supported inner child. Remember this fundamental truth. You are the observer, not the voice. You have the power to choose which voice dictates your destiny. Choose Mettā, choose acceptance, choose support. Embrace this final challenge today. Identify one small action you are avoiding because of self-doubt. Instead of listening to the critic's lie, apply Zen Tool 3, the radical reframe. Speak gently to your inner child of fear. Offer it support, and then perform the action with full compassion. Regardless of the outcome, that single choice is your next act of mastery. Thank you for beginning your journey with Echoes of Life. If the promise of silencing self-doubt and mastering self-love resonated with your spirit, subscribe to our channel and join our community dedicated to applying ancient Zen and Buddhist wisdom to achieve inner resilience and compassion in the modern world. Like this video to help the algorithm share this essential secret for ending self-criticism with others trapped by their own harsh judgment. And finally, share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that they are already worthy. Until our next lesson on mastering your inner world, may your spirit be compassionate, and your voice be kind.